What's up, guys? Today's date, September 25th. I'm Steven Masso. As always, you're listening to Via the Source. Now, in today's episode, we're going to be discussing the Dolphins' win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm excited to say it. The Dolphins got their first win of the season, and boy, what a way to do it. So, to get right into it, they were shredded. The Miami Dolphins shredded the Jacksonville Jaguars Thursday night, taking the victory by a score of 31-13. The Dolphins, as we all know, had lost their two previous games against the Patriots and Bills by a combined score of 13 points, but I think anyone would say, and I've been saying on the podcast, the games didn't really feel that close. But this game was something different. This is something that Dolphin fans had been craving for a long time. It was a dominating victory. It wasn't a close win. It wasn't a lucky win. This was an absolute dominant performance by the Miami Dolphins. So if we go take a look at the offensive side of the ball, there are a few areas that could get some praise, but I want to begin with the headline of this game, and it's going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick, the leader of this team. He was as efficient as he's ever been. He didn't have one of those ridiculous stat-padded games that everyone knows when they talk about Fitzmagic. It wasn't the 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions. This game, on the other hand, was surgical. Fitzpatrick finished his game 18 for 20, 160 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He had 38 rushing yards and 1 touchdown. He only threw 3 passes in this game beyond 15 yards. He threw to 7 different players, and he had this weird play where the ball was tipped and he caught it himself. It was a surgical game by Ryan Fitzpatrick. It was a perfect display, in my opinion, of his value to this team. He is the leader of this team, and it shows on the plays like his scramble for a first down where he lowered his head instead of sliding, absorbing the contact as if it was nothing. It shows on plays like Gaskin's long run in the first quarter where Fitzpatrick ran ahead of him to go get a lead block. Fitzpatrick's value to this team goes way beyond the stat sheet. Now, as for some other groups on this team, the offensive line in this game, man, it deserves a ton of praise. The Dolphins finished this game with 138 yards rushing. That's the most that the team has had in a single game since Week 15 of way back in 2018. They had 91 yards alone on the ground in the first half of this game. And again, remember, this is a team that last year averaged 72 yards per game. So to make a huge jump like that, that is extremely underrated. I think more people need to be aware of what the Dolphins are doing. So, are they the elite Cowboys offensive line from a few years ago? Of course not. But they have played 3 games of outstanding football. There are 3 games, again, without a preseason. It's 3 games with 2 rookies who are starting and with 2 off-season additions. And they have impressed me the first 2 weeks, and this was just even more of that. Now, to go into some of the guys real quick in detail, Austin Jackson, man, the guy looks like a veteran. He is there. He is as reliable as they come, it looks like, in terms of how a rookie is expected to be playing. And then Solomon Kinley, the guard, he's also a rookie. If you watch him play, you have people saying that the offensive line isn't exciting to watch. And, I would be inclined to agree in most circumstances. But if you watch Solomon Kinley, the guy is just an absolute monster. It is so exciting to watch him as a rookie just dominate these veterans right in front of him. Just an awesome guy to watch. Definitely keep your eye on him in future games if you go back and watch it. So fun to watch. And then if we look at the running back here, Myles Gaskin, he got off to a very hot start in the beginning of this game. He had 33 yards rushing, another 19 through the air in just the first quarter. Now, his number wasn't called as much in the second quarter. He only had 2 touches, and from that point, his production kind of began to simmer down. So he ended up finishing the game 66 yards rushing on 22 carries. He also had 5 catches for 29 yards. So, if you're looking at those numbers, you're not going to say that it was some breakout performance, but nonetheless, the guy is still impressing. The team loves him. His versatility makes him the most viable running back on this team. So receiving-wise, again, this is a game where Ryan Fitzpatrick only threw for 160 yards. Devontae Parker was the one who led the way for the team. He had 69 yards on 5 catches, and he caught every single pass that was thrown his way. Mike Gesicki had only 1 catch in this game, but it was a nice jumping 15-yard touchdown. And then Preston Williams also had a nice little appearance here. He had 2 catches, and one of those was a 3-yard touchdown. Jakeem Grant, I will also say, had a very impressive diving catch. It was one where rookie CJ Anderson oddly stopped right next to him and started clapping his hands, kind of forgot that in the NFL you have to touch a guy down. So that was a little bit weird to see. And then he also also had this very nice long rush. So Jakeem Grant in this one finished the game with 48 total yards. That wraps up the offensive side of the ball. Now, if we go look at the defense, this is where all the concerns have been. Last week the offense came alive, but now it's time to see what the defense did. And the defense looked improved. There were still, a ton of things that left people frustrated, especially at the beginning of the game. But in this one, they appeared to make adjustments, and that is something they did not do against New England and against Buffalo. So for the Jaguars, James Robinson looked like he was going to be a big problem for the Dolphins on the ground. He had 36 yards in the first half, but he ended up finishing the game with 46. Now, as for some of the other guys here, the Dolphins really capitalized off DJ Chark, who missed the game. No receiver for Jacksonville had more than 43 yards. Now, I will say James Robinson, the running back, the rookie, he did have 83, but I will say I do think the team prefers having a running back get all the yards, keeping the person in front of you, allowing your guys to make tackles. I think they would prefer that over what happened last week with Stephon Diggs, with John Brown, with Cole Beasley all racking up yards. I think this was a much better scenario for them. Now, Gardner Minshew, if you listen to my preview episode, I kind of talked about how he likes to hold onto the ball a little bit too long. So this is kind of a combination of the Dolphins applying some good pressure and also him holding onto the ball, what I thought was a little bit too long. So in this game, Minshew was sacked 4 times, once by Camu Grugier-Hill and once by Andrew Van Ginkel. Emmanuel Ogbah and Zach Sealer combined for a sack as well. And then Kyle Van Noy, he had this huge play in this game where he got a strip sack on Minshew. He actually somehow dived onto the ball, made the recovery himself. It was a play that set up Miami perfectly to score when they were in the Jacksonville red zone. So overall, a pretty solid game from the pressure, but Emmanuel Ogbah, I thought, looked like a force. He looked dominant all night. He was constantly disrupting the pocket, getting around the edge, getting in Minshew's face, and forcing him to go down the center. And then he was also shutting off the edge on a lot of these runs. I thought Emmanuel Ogbah in this game, he looked really, really good. Now, by looking at the Jaguars' receiving numbers, you can see that the secondary had a better day. It wasn't perfect. Chris Conley in this game, he had several big drops. There was a play where Minshew overthrew him on what would have been a long touchdown. As I mentioned also in the preview, Minshew likes to do these little pump fakes. He did that on this play. He got Noah Igbenogany to kind of bite on it, and it would have been a huge touchdown, but Minshew missed him. But there were some improvements, and of those improvements, Noah Igbenogany, he broke up a pass in the end zone that was intended to rookie Colin Johnson. Igbenogany also had this great open field tackle on Shenault on a 3rd down earlier in the game, and overall, Igbenogany was just making some very solid tackles throughout this game. Now, Xavier Howard, towards the tail end of this game, he came away with a late game interception. It basically sealed it at that point. What kind of worried me was he was kind of limping as he went to the sideline. He was holding the back of his knee, as many of us know that he has had knee issues throughout his career, and this past off season he had a minor knee surgery. So that's something to monitor, I think, as we move forward. Landon Roberts appeared to really struggle, I thought, in this game. He looked flat-footed multiple times where his man would just kind of blow right past him. He didn't look like he was able to make these tackles. There was a 3rd down play where Brandon Jones missed an interception, and then him and Kyle Van Noy and Jerome Baker all proceeded to miss the tackle, and it turned into a huge game for Shenault, and that was a little bit discouraging towards the beginning of the game. But overall, it wasn't perfect, but I can definitively say that it was a lot better. So here are my takeaways for this game. The first one is, it's time to stop questioning the offensive line. It's easy to point at all the young players here and look at all the moving parts and think this is a group that would have some hiccups. It's easy to reflect back on the offensive lines that Miami has had for years and think it would be more of the same. But for now, that is not the case at all. These guys have proven they can hang, and it's time that they get the props that they deserve for their play. My next takeaway is that Miami's defense is getting better, but it still has a ways to go. They don't deserve the intense criticism they received after their first 2 games right now. They did enough to silence the critics, but now it's going to be time to prove them wrong. one solid game for me against a subpar offense that was missing their wide receiver one isn't quite enough to flat out erase the narrative, but it's enough to put it on pause for at least another week. So I do want to see if they can continue to build off it, but regardless, this was a lot better. And then my last takeaway for this game is that Myles Gaskin is the best running back on this team. You know, a part of me wanted to say this after week 1, but it was far too early. Then after week 2, I really wanted to say it, but I restrained myself because I was still very big on Breida, and he had a good game that week too, so I held back. But now it's indisputable that Gaskin is the guy right now. His vision is terrific, as well as his ability to remain balanced after taking hits. He's reliable as a pass blocker. His abilities as a receiver as well forces the defense to stay on their toes. So Myles Gaskin isn't a quirky gadget player. He isn't just, riding the hot hand. He looks like the legitimate lead back for the Miami Dolphins. So guys, I would love to know what you guys think about this game. Is there anything that you think I missed? Of course, this was just after the first night, so the coach's film isn't out, and I do plan on checking it out, but I was able to rewatch this game and kind of get a better feel for some of the things. But I will say, a very encouraging performance. This was something that I love to see. It was a great way to spend my Thursday night, as I'm sure many of you guys would agree. And before I wrap up this episode, if you haven't checked it out on Twitter, I am doing a giveaway. It includes a Myles Gaskin autographed rookie card. It looks nice. The thing looks sick. It also includes a Tua Tagovailoa rookie card insert, as well as an autograph of Malcolm Perry. All of that is in the giveaway on Twitter. If you retweet it, you are entered into the contest. You also have to be following. And if you are on YouTube and you're watching this, if you leave a comment down below saying fins up and are subscribed to me, you could also be included in the contest. So guys, as always, if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do so. That is at Via the Source. If you'd like to follow my personal account, you can do so at Shady Steven. I would greatly appreciate all of those, as well as if you could leave a review on the Apple Podcast app. If you like it, you can say that you like it. If you didn't like it, give me things to improve on. If there's anything you would like for me to discuss or comments, I had people asking me fantasy football questions. If you guys know me, I've been playing fantasy football legit. I've been the commissioner of my league since I was 11 years old. So to say I know something about fantasy football would be an understatement. You feel free to ask me your questions. I love getting those. I could discuss those in future episodes if you like. That's how I'm going to wrap it up though, guys. Until next time, I'm Steve Amaso. This was Via the Source.